The night has a way of amplifying everything. As the world winds down and the noise outside falls away, the quiet can suddenly feel overwhelming. For many of us, that's when loneliness slips in, and it's like an unwelcome guest who settles beside you just as you're trying to rest. But what if there's a way to reshape how we think and feel at the end of the day? What if transforming our mindset before bed could be the very thing that starts to rewrite the story of our lives? Let's take a journey together into that moment, the closing minutes before you drift off. Maybe you found yourself staring up at the ceiling, tangled in your sheets and your thoughts, wondering why you feel so isolated. The irony, of course, is that loneliness can strike when you least expect it, at a bustling party, on a busy subway, or right in the comfort of your own home. It often feels most brutal in the stillness of the evening, when the day's distractions have faded, and you're left with only inner noise. While loneliness is a shared human experience, it can feel uniquely devastating. It's as if a thick fog separates you from everyone else, making connection feel impossibly distant. The reality? You're far from alone, even in your loneliness. Let's explore why these emotions surface so powerfully at night, and more importantly, let's discover some practical tools for easing loneliness and nurturing your mental health as you wind down. With each bedtime, you have the power to plant the seeds of change, not just for restful sleep, but for better days ahead. First, it's important to admit that loneliness isn't trivial. In fact, it's closely linked with anxiety and depression. The mind can become a relentless echo chamber, with fear and sadness bouncing off the walls at midnight. It's all too easy to start doubting yourself, wondering if you're the only one who feels this sense of disconnection or questioning if there's something inherently wrong within. But these are universal struggles. The cycle of isolation, rumination, anxiety, and sadness is a deeply human one. The relationship between loneliness and our mental health is complex, woven with the threads of our daily habits, our upbringing, and even our surrounding culture. The truth is that when we feel lonely, our minds are often biased towards seeing the world through a lens of rejection or insufficiency. We might replay memories where we felt excluded, worry about future social interactions, or convince ourselves that we're not worthy of being understood. Nighttime offers little in the way of distraction. The mind, seeking company, instead finds only itself. Yet loneliness does not reflect your worth. It isn't a statement of what you lack. It's simply an emotion, a signal, much like hunger or fatigue, urging you to seek connection and care. There are endless reasons loneliness can arise. You might work remotely, spending whole days with only the hum of your computer for company. Perhaps you've moved to a new city and are still searching for your tribe. Sometimes life circumstances leave us adrift. A breakup, a falling out with a friend, or simply growing apart from those who once felt close. Modern life doesn't always help. Paradoxically, our technologies, designed to connect us, can heighten feelings of loneliness. Scrolling through carefully curated highlight reels on social media, we measure ourselves against an endless stream of smiling faces and group snapshots. It can feel painfully as if everyone else is living in a world where belonging comes easily. What if we're not using technology to connect, but to escape? When swiping through notifications replaces real connection, we may feel even emptier. We end up with the appearance of a network, but still crave meaningful conversation. But loneliness can be just as powerful when it comes from within. Self-doubt can convince you that you're too different, too awkward, not enough. Maybe you've wrestled with perfectionism, always believing relationships should look or feel a certain way. There's an internal narrative that whispers, "I'm just not wired for connection." This voice can get especially loud when the world is quiet. Western culture tends to celebrate productivity and performance, subtly suggesting that worthiness is something you earn. For those who feel they're falling short, loneliness can feel compounded by guilt or shame. But the truth is, every person you meet has, at some point, battled feelings of disconnection, even if they don't show it. So how do you start before bed, when you're most vulnerable, to gently rewrite this story? Let's explore strategies that can bring relief and slowly transform your mindset. Start with self-compassion. When the uncomfortable feeling of loneliness surfaces, don't judge or dismiss it. Instead, acknowledge it with kindness. Imagine you're comforting a dear friend who's experiencing the same pain. Offer yourself permission to feel this way, and remind yourself that it is both common and temporary. You are not deficient. Your emotions are simply asking to be heard. A powerful way to nurture self-compassion is to place your hand over your heart, taking a few deep breaths and silently repeating, "This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. May I be kind to myself. These words have the power to interrupt the spiral of self-criticism that so often comes with loneliness. Another gentle antidote: reach out. You may feel hesitant, fearing you'll be a burden, or that your attempt at connection will be rebuffed. But even a short message, a thinking of you text, or a meme that made you laugh can go a long way. If no one immediately comes to mind, consider reaching out through a community forum or virtual chat group. Sometimes, simply expressing your state to someone else, however briefly, reminds you that the world is full of people wrestling with the same feelings. If socializing feels impossible right now, focus on being present, just with yourself. Mindfulness practices can ground you in the here and now, gently breaking the endless cycle of rumination and worry. Try this. As you settle into bed, place your attention on your breath. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest and the softness of your sheets. When your mind wanders to anxious or sad thoughts, acknowledge them, then gently bring your focus back to your breath. This simple practice can quiet the mind and invite peace. Physical relaxation is another vital step. Stress and loneliness show up not just in our thoughts, but in our bodies. A tight jaw, tense shoulders, restless legs. Creating a bedtime routine around calming the body can prepare you for rest and gently shift your mood. A few stretches, a warm bath with soothing scents, or a few pages from an uplifting book can all contribute. The goal isn't to erase loneliness overnight, but to cradle yourself in comfort until sleep arrives. Gratitude is a small but powerful ritual. Before bed, list 3 things, even minor ones, that brought you some measure of joy or comfort during the day. Maybe the sun was shining, or your coffee was just right, or a neighbor smiled as you passed by. This practice doesn't ignore your difficult feelings, but it adds balance, reminding you that goodness can coexist with pain. With time, your brain becomes more attuned to noticing these bright spots. Another way to transform loneliness is by giving, even in small ways. If you have creative energy at night, write a kind comment on someone's social post, leave a thank you note for a coworker, or send an encouraging message to a friend. Acts of kindness connect us back to the world, reaffirming that you have a place to give and to receive. As you practice these habits, remember, meaningful change takes time and patience. There might be nights when old patterns still surge, or when your best efforts don't seem to make a difference. This is normal. Every act of self-care, however small, is a declaration that your feelings matter and that you're deserving of comfort and connection. As you repeat these rituals, self-compassion, presence, gratitude, and gentle reaching out, you might notice small shifts. Perhaps you'll sleep more peacefully, or find that anxious thoughts lose some of their grip. Over time, the mindset you cultivate at night can pave the way for a greater sense of belonging and contentment during the day. What is a transformed mindset truly? It's not about banishing loneliness forever, but about changing how you relate to it. Instead of seeing it as evidence that something is wrong, you begin to recognize it as a signal, a reminder to tune in, to care for yourself, or to courageously try connecting, even if the effort feels scary. Remember, your worth is not determined by the number of people who text you goodnight, or by how crowded your schedule is with plans. Connection comes in many forms, sometimes through quiet moments of self-care, sometimes through a smile exchanged with a stranger, and sometimes through the simple act of being gentle with yourself as you fall asleep. If you ever feel overwhelmed by loneliness, know there are resources and people who care deeply about your well-being. Don't be afraid to seek support, whether from a trusted friend, a mental health professional, or support communities online and offline. Sometimes reaching out for help is the bravest and most transformative step of all. So tonight, as you get ready for bed, remember that loneliness visits all of us from time to time, but it never has to define your life. By practicing self-kindness, seeking moments of presence, nurturing gratitude, and extending even small gestures of connection, you can quietly and powerfully change your relationship with feeling alone. Transformation is a process, made up of small choices repeated night after night. Each evening, you have the opportunity to create a new bedtime ritual, one that thrives on acceptance, care, and hope. The journey is yours, but you're walking a well-trodden path, side by side with countless others who understand just what you're going through. If you're finding these thoughts resonate, remember to share your own experience or insights. There is extraordinary healing in letting your story be seen. Your words may shine a light for someone else finding their way through loneliness tonight. And if you need more guidance, Don't hesitate to reach out for additional resources or ideas. With each step, each mindful breath, and each act of self-compassion, you're proving to yourself that change is not only possible, it's already underway. As you close your eyes and let sleep come, take one final deep breath. Tell yourself, I am enough. I am worthy of connection, rest, and peace. Carry that truth with you tonight and every night. You're not alone. Transformation starts right here, in the quiet, with you.